face the army, don't be scared, go and kill them, fight them. But then the Quran goes one step further. God says, if they want peace, you're not allowed to strike. Not only that, you need to take them and escort them to safety. So this is what I mean. I said you have people making all these kind of comments, or making all these kind of taking things out of context and using it for their own personal things. There's Muslims who do that as well, who want to cause hatred and fight in the world, and they'll take the Quran out of context verses, say to the people who are not educated or learned, and say, look, the Quran's telling you to fight, kill the unbelievers, so let's go and do it. But if you study the Quran with a critical eye, investigate it, you will see that is not the case. And that is why Islam is the fastest growing religion in the world, in the West. You know, there's a news article in the BBC saying in the UK Islam is the fastest growing religion. Every year I think 5,000 to 6,000 people are accepting Islam. And now there's 5,000 to 6,000 people accepting Islam, out of every 4, 3 are women. Women accepting Islam. Now you hear in the news, in the media, that Islam is against women. It oppresses women, it doesn't give the rights to women. They're oppressed and this and that and all kinds of things. Well, my question is, if Islam is so much against the women, then how come is it these Western, civilized, educated, independent women are accepting Islam? Just forcing them at the point of the sword. And these are things to think about, and say, well, maybe I should have a look. Maybe I should read this book, which is believed by over 1.7 billion people in the world to be the actual word of God, the true word. Without investigating, we can't really just pass a claim on it. That's what I'm trying to get at. You see what I mean?
Yeah, no, I do see what you mean, but I'd rather go and, I don't know, I just can't be bothered to, I just don't like religion. That's all there is to it.
Yeah.
But I just cannot understand.
Because of how people have used religion. But I just say it's a very unfair way of looking at it, because if you can point something in this Islam, for example, that goes against humanity, you have a point. You say, oh, well, look, see, I told you religion is wrong. Look at this, what it says here. What to do here and here. Then you have a point. You made a point. But if Islam is changed...
that makes sense. But think about it. It's something you don't really want to chant. I mean, suppose, you said you don't know. Suppose if it is true, it's, it can be... Because in our afterlife, we believe that if you don't believe in God, you go to the and if you do, you go on. In a very good sense. Now, it's something that you need to... It's something that's really important, actually. A lot of people say that, we don't know, we have to look into it. But I think it's something that's actually really important to address. I mean, it's fine if you look into it, and then you come to a conclusion that, okay, no, it doesn't provide enough evidence for me. At least you've got something there. I mean, if you say, I don't think it's true, and you've not looked at it.
At the back of my mind, I'll just be sitting there reading a book. And then I'll start asking myself, well, who wrote this book?
Well, that's a good thing.
It's a book.
Yeah.
It doesn't give no evidence or tell me anything.
Again, you're making a claim, but you've not.
Well, you haven't read the book. How do you know it doesn't make a claim? How do you know it doesn't make a claim? Yeah. But how do you know it doesn't make the claim? If it's making the claim and it's giving you a way of proving it wrong, then it has made a claim and it's giving you a falsification test to prove it wrong.
I know.
When you say falsification test, you mean a literary falsification test, not a scientific falsification.
I think it's
I'll apologise for being so thick because I can't answer a lot of your questions.
Bring a verse like it.
But, I just don't believe in religion. That's all there is to it, really.
If you're not sure,
Because if you don't speak the Arabic language,
What I'm saying to you is that's a literary
it could be
falsification.
I'm saying this exactly
Purely subjective meaning. Bring a verse like it, we'll judge whether it says good or not. That's totally subjective. It's not a scientific falsification.
I can't tell you, look, you have to believe in this. I can't tell you.
Disprove it.
Your criteria for evidence
Yeah.
may be different to mine.
Totally different.
there's another
What you require
God says,
may be different to mine.
I think this is
You
not
said you
from
don't know
the
what
creator of the
requires.
heavens and the earth.
I can't really give you any evidence.
Pull an error out in it.
Yeah.
Find an error.
Put an error out.
I mean, I think if someone, as I pointed out to two members of my family,
says one thing, and then other places where it says something which can be interpreted to be totally different.
But yeah.
Now, obviously, believers interpret it so that there's no contradiction. But people that are, say, neutral, they say that there's blatant contradiction.
The young point, what I'm saying is, if there is an interpretation where it can show that it's not a contradiction, is that valid or not?
Not really.
Why not?
That's subjective, isn't it? Once again, that's still
No,
subjective. When you use words like falsification, these are openly scientific words. Yeah, when you say something like a falsification principle and test, you are implying there's a scientific basis. That's total bollocks because it's not. It's a literary test. Yeah, so the falsification point is literary, subjective, based on the poetic structure or abstract nature.
You've been back to the other one. I'm talking about, but I'm talking about the second one. I just
Either way, it's down to interpretation. Like, if it says in the Quran, I don't know, for example, you must never kill anyone, and then another place it says you must kill some people sometimes in certain situations. Some people will say that's a contradiction.
Well, if it explains it.
Well, because like I said, it's down to a subjective interpretation. When you make a claim implying scientific validity, and then you look at it and it's actually, well, believers will think this and non-believers will think that, that's not scientific, is it? Where would you have that in a scientific
Well, at the end of the day, the Quran makes claims, it talks about different issues. Yeah. And up to this day, no one's able to come back and prove and say, well, look, it's made an error here. It's made an error.
Just because believers won't accept that.
Well, that's not just believers.
Yes, it is just believers.
People have taken these verses and gone and shown people who are subject matter experts. Is it wrong? Now, look, I understand what you're saying. It's not. But the book you are.
What I'm saying to you is, when you use words like falsification, you openly imply a scientific standard of validity. What you're talking about is subjective, open to interpretation, down to the abstract nature of the language, the wording, no contradictions based on your... If you said if it's possible to interpret it that way, you know how it's possible to interpret it in any way you like. So that's not... Like I say to you, you have to base when you use the word falsification, you are implying that it's a scientific validity in the sense that we'll test it like a lab experiment and it will just be one way or the other. Yeah? That's what you imply when you use a word like falsification.
When you say test it, falsification, is that the interpretation there? It has to be tested in a laboratory?
No, but on that level of
but you say you're narrowing it to it has to be testable within a laboratory.
That was an example, but what I'm saying is that the validity
there's other ways of action.
Yeah, but it still have to be tested in the real world.
Yeah, so you have a physical world. I understand. You have a language. It has interpretations.
What scientific tests are you going to apply to language and interpretation of language? These are two totally different things.
It's making claims which can be now verified in this day and age, and if it's saying something which is totally wrong...
What experiment can you do to verify whether the falsification principle is true or not? You can't. It will all be a subjective interpretation of whether there was an error or not, or whether somebody bought a verse which was good enough or not. These are subjective. These are got nothing to do with science. Yeah? When you use words like falsification, you are implying a standard of methodology and testing, which is almost like...
But then you can take that argument, as far as you want. For example, then you say science is not absolute in itself as well. So science can't prove anything as well.
That's irrelevant. No one said science can't prove
science can't prove anything because it's not absolute, is it?
Yeah, no one said that. I'm just saying to you
that's what I'm trying to say,
using the word falsification and then actually referring to a literary and then a subjective interpretation of that, you're just playing with words. There's no point in using the word falsification when you are misusing it. You can't apply a falsification criteria to an interpretation of language and how poetic and abstract something is. A falsification criteria, as explained by Karl Popper, who invented it, is to do with going out into the real world and physically checking to see whether something is refutable or refuted or not. Yeah? That's a physical experiment, a test to be done. That's why I refer to it as, for example, like a laboratory condition. Yeah?
So when the science
makes that with language and
when
poetry.
The science makes claims about the earth and the nature around you.
When you're talking about language and poetry, you can't be using scientific claims.
No, when Islam, look, I'll give you an example.
But you hear what I'm saying though?
Yeah, I understand.
My problem is only that when you're making claims about literary and language and abstract things like this, you can't be using scientific language to validate that because it's too different.
When it comes to the literature side, it's not talking to the non-Arabs, right? It's talking to the people who are masters of this language, so it's talking to a particular people, So I understand that. When it comes to Islam, like I said, when Islam was talking about, like, one of the claims it makes that was every living thing made from water.
Every living thing made from water. I guess so, yeah.
Can that be
content of water in it? Yeah.
Can that be verified?
Not really, because we haven't been able to find every living thing. So
what we have so far.
Out of what we have so far, but that.
No, can it? So, as far as what we can investigate.
That wouldn't say every. That wouldn't prove every living thing. That would just say every.
I agree.
That would limit it to every known.
So from what we know up to yet. Can that be verified?
I'm not sure actually. They might. I don't know. Maybe there's some termite or creature which actually doesn't have a.
That's just assumption. Maybe
Yeah, no,
this,
maybe
maybe
there's
that.
even one that's been found.
Maybe there's the.
Maybe there's even a found one.
Maybe
I haven't
the pink
actually.
moon
I've never
somewhere.
typed this into Google. I've never researched it,
okay,
so I'm not going to jump to any
Fair enough,
conclusion.
brother.
I think it's quite, like you say. I would say that it's probably unlikely. All living things I can think of would have some
That's what I'm saying.
content in it.
That's what I'm saying. Up to now. That's why I said up to now. Up to now. So that is something that can be verified. So when
No,
you
it can't until
up to what we know.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Yeah. With that.
So that's what I'm saying. When you keep saying we can't, I'm saying, look, there's some things which we can, and I'm saying what we can, up to what we know.
With that limitation,
yeah, with the limitation of what we know so far. The Quran's saying, can you do it? This is a challenge, and it's making that challenge, and from what we know, we can check it and verify it.
But that's not scientific, because like I say to you, anybody that brings you something, it's not going to be it's not going to be a laboratory or weights and measures that are going to determine the result. It's going to be human beings that read, analyze, judge, and decide.
And the Quran's telling you to do that.
But that's subjective. Yeah, what I'm saying to you, when you say falsification, you're implying that it's going to be some sort of experiment that nature will decide what the outcome is, and it will always will. But then when you've got human beings who have to look at the verse and judge and decide based on subjective understanding, then that's not scientific. That's by definition subjective.
Yeah, but with scientific, you don't use it with the human mind. When you do science, you do that with the human mind as well. So everything's subjective. Science is subjective.
But this is the thing, though. You're trying to
Science is not subjective.
Yeah, you're trying to.
No, that's what he's saying.
Yeah, but then why is it that with a scientific test, I could predict if I had a certain wire of a certain size, I could tell you how hot it's going to get based on how much power I put into it. Yeah. Now,
by the way, I'm not a scientist. Yeah, so
anybody
I don't know.
in the world, any human being in the world can run that experiment in the same conditions and come up with exactly the same result. That makes it objective. Yeah. Now, when I bring to you a verse about the Quran, you're going to have some interpretation and say, oh, well, actually, it's not good enough. I'm going to say to you, it is good enough. Because it's subjective. These things.
Base it on evidence.
What evidence?
What do you base on the Arabic language? You look at the evidence.
Arabic language. Bro, this is what I'm saying. Every human being is going to, like, for example, a poet, a poem. You say this poem's rubbish. I say the poem's fantastic.
Look, if there's an Arabic word and it has 5 meanings.
I've talked to people here and I've talked to people who speak Arabic. They tell me there's up to 30, 40 different meanings at a time. This just makes it even more difficult for you to ever establish any scientific level of fact about it, because it makes it more open to interpret.
For the people who speak
the
Arabic
more numbers
language,
of different interpretations
for the people
are
who speak Arabic
available,
language,
the more mess that you'll
for the
get.
people that speak Arabic language, like for example, the Quran, and it is speaking to.
If that was the case,
can I make
if
words?
that was,
When the Quran was speaking to the people of the first century, the Arabs, and the Quran was revealed, the Arabic was coming down, and the Quran made this claim about if you doubt this, bring a verse or bring a chapter like it, The people who were listening at that time were masters of the language. They were linguistic masters of the language.
How do you know they were?
According to the historical records that we have.
Bro, they could have just been idiots.
According to the
historical records.
Well, if we're going to
according to the fact that it suits your story, that's why you like it.
Do you
There's
know?
no actual proof of that.
Who
are you to say that the people at the time were the greatest Arabic writers ever?
From the historical records.
Bro, this is known as just you picking and choosing what you like to.
Have you studied the historical?
This is relevant. What I'm saying to you is about your use of scientific terms.
Bro,
to try and validate a subjective.
If we turn around and say everything, we say, oh well, I don't believe that.
Can I ask you a question? If science in any way, if any scientific theory or research in any way contradicts the Quran, will you believe the Quran over the science, or will you take science over the Quran?
For me,
let's just say if it said in the Quran the earth is flat. If, for example, I'm not saying it does.
I know what you're trying to say, brother.
If science said it's round, what would you take first? You take science or the Quran?
Right.
The Quran. You don't value
even
science.
over the evidence of your own eyes.
Well, I've studied of the Quran. I believe. Well, I'll show you that it's the word of God. Now, it's all we can say.
No wonder you think such
but we can come up with the ifs now.
No wonder you're not willing to look at the real facts and the real evidence and real science.
Well,
evolution
makes it clear, bro.
destroyed the theory of Adam and Eve. It has destroyed it.
You know what? I'll tell you what.
This is the problem I have with
I'm not a subject matter expert on evolution. You just made a claim. Sorry.
Do you have a YouTube channel, yeah?
No, we don't.
Oh, you're gonna upload it or not?
You just made a claim about evolution,
I haven't made a claim.
You just said evolution. Okay, science, Can I take you to the person who can speak Bible?
You guys are new here, innit?
Why not?
Yeah.
No, but I don't know anything about that. So I don't want to make it talk about subjects I have no knowledge about.
So why?
I wasn't talking
Why
about.
would you be sure it's not true then?
Huh?
Why would you be sure it's not true?
Because the people who have the knowledge tell us.
And most of the experts in anything to do with biology, or probably 95% of them, all agree that evolution is a
Well,
fact.
then why? Okay, let's. Why don't you talk to the person who can talk on the subject matter? If there's a subject matter which I'm not aware of, I don't want to talk about it.
Because as you said, you
someone else.
But you do. You don't. So why are you talking about it?
But the experts say the opposite.
So now you're saying you can quote the experts. When I said I quote the experts, you turned around
You
and said,
don't
why am
quote
I
the
talking
experts.
about
You
it?
said you quote one guy. You said one guy. We're
No,
talking about the
I said-
consensus of scientific experts
I
across
said-
the board. That's different from you quoting one guy who spent his life with money from my era to try and disprove evolution. You guys dig
Well,
up
then,
crap.
well, if you know the answers.
Yeah, the consensus
the
among
people.
scientifically educated and professional people in that field is that evolution is an actual fact about
brother.
nature. Yeah, it doesn't matter what these brothers make up.
No,
shit and
where's our
make up
brother?
lies about. Brothers, calm down.
Why are you so agitated?
Because the point is, you said evolution is not true. You admitted you don't know nothing about it, and you tried to quote from one guy,
I said I
one
believe-
brainwashed Muslim guy who spent his life trying to disprove evolution. The consensus
Now,
of
how-
scientific people is that it's a fact about
How can you
physical
control
nature.
brainwash who I can talk to?
Bro, it's a load of shit, bro. I've heard them talk. I've heard them all talk.
But you have the evidence.
Bro, the
Then what-
evidence, I don't have it. The fucking world has it. It's out there.
So you have it. But
I don't have it. It's there. It's
are you
everywhere.
aware of the evidence? You've seen the evidence that you're so certain about.
Bro,
Yes.
like I said to you, you tried to make it sound as if you said that's what the experts say. No, the experts say the opposite of that. You just know one brainwashed Muslim guy who spent his life
Right, well,
trying to dig out evolution.
Can I ask you a question?
The experts say the opposite to
Can I
what
ask
you
you a
said.
question? Are there any scientists out there who say the opposite of what you just said?
There is one or two, yeah. But
Oh, there's one or two.
Yeah, there is a few.
I saw
The majority, the consensus, by a huge amount, 90%, yeah, is that evolution is a true fact about
You turn
nature.
around and say one person says that doesn't make a difference. When you actually turn around saying that there's scientists out there, PhD scientists, who turn around and say no. That there's not.
You
There's
have a problem
not. There's
with
not.
numbers.
Absolutely.
90% of professional scientists say that evolution is a fact.
Look, if you-
yeah? That leaves 10% of people, which is still thousands, which is still hundreds
And it
of
makes it the
thousands.
truth.
And no, they just refuse to accept
wait,
evidence.
there's-
They refuse to
there's-
accept it because they're brainwashed.
Oh.
They just believe in other crap,
There's-
magical crap.
There's the overall majority of the world population believe in a creator, and there's a very small, very small. Oh, so, no, but according to us now, according to your understanding, you the guys are brainwashed because the overall majority of people in the world
Scientists,
believe.
experts.
Overall
The
majority.
thing about evolution is 90% of experts, scientific experts.
Because you know, there's scientific experts who believe in the creator.
Yeah, but that's a small minority.
Oh, that's a small
of
minority.
Of
Who told you that?
scientists. Oh, didn't I just? I've been saying you for
You're
ages.
talking about evolution. Okay, I get your point. You said 90% or 98%, what you just said, this figure you quoted. I'm saying there's scientists out there, and it's not a minority, who believe in the creator.
Across the highest standards of scientists across the world, the highest number of non-believers, agnostics, atheists, and deists will be in the scientific community. And the higher up the education scale you go, the more the numbers add up to that. Yeah, it's just a natural thing. Now, in countries like Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, obviously that's not the case. Because if someone comes out as an atheist there, they'll get killed. Yeah.
I don't know about that.
No, it's a fact. It's a fact. It's a
People
fact.
do that, yeah?
Somebody got killed last week in Pakistan for blogging about religion or science or something.
Yeah.
Yeah? It happens all the time, bro. I know. I'm from Pakistan. I know this.
Yeah, but that's not what it's
So what I'm
not.
saying to you is, then you have numbers of religious people who are scientists because they don't have physically have an option of coming out as an atheist. Yeah, but in Western societies, England, Denmark, Sweden, Germany, France, Italy, Spain, America, the majority of scientists are atheists. The majority of scientists say that evolution is a fact about physical nature. Yeah, bro, you can look these things up. I'm not making it up.
I do not say evolution as a whole is wrong. Yeah, I'm not saying
You're just
that.
saying that human beings could be.
Yeah, I said that.
Bro, I've heard you speaking
Good.
before.
Yeah,
They-
but
they all-
what I'm saying
I know
is,
what they all
why I
do.
says I don't want to talk on this. Why subject? Because I am not.
It doesn't matter.
I don't have
It doesn't
knowledge.
matter. Even
Yeah.
like I said to you,
Yeah.
even the
So,
people
I don't
who
want
you think do know a lot about it,
You go talk to them.
they're just making up rubbish and coming forward.
You don't talk to them and let me see how they're making it rubbish. If you're not willing to speak to them, why are you making these claims? Why talk to me? Why no, brother? What I'm saying is, why talk to me when I don't have any knowledge?
I
on
don't
this
really
issue?
care about evolution that much. much. Even if evolution was proved to be false, it would make no difference to me about God or not God, yeah? Because it's irrelevant to it, yeah? The reason I argue about it is because I don't like it when people say stuff like what you said, yeah? Oh, the majority of experts said, and I'm like, bro, can you really be saying that?
Majority of experts are what?
You tried to say the majority of you said that I'm referring to the experts. The majority of experts say that evolution is not true. You said that earlier.
You did.
You did say that. Did I say that? When you said I'm referring to the experts, yeah? When you said I'm referring to
I was talking about evolution.
Yes, we were talking about evolution. Yeah. You said we were talking
When I
about
was talking about the historical facts, when I said about the Arab language, and you said that's correct, I said go to the historical.
Like I said,
records.
are you putting this on YouTube?
This is not my channel. Perhaps go on YouTube. I know my channel. I know my
channel is this?
All Truth Revealed. No, we don't edit.
All truth revealed.
We don't edit.
If you put the whole video up,
We don't edit. But what I'm saying to you is, if you got a point, you should speak to someone who's got knowledge in the and speak to him. Come to me asking me, and I don't have knowledge. And I'm telling you this.
I didn't bring that up.
I didn't come up with this.
I didn't bring that up.
That was the royal.
Yeah,
So
no.
why you pointing at me like I said?
Because
I'm
you made
talking and preaching
no,
against
because you said that you said something about it.
I
and
said-
you tried to act as
I
if
spoke-
you tried to act as if the majority of people say this about
I
it. And I said
spoke-
no,
I spoke
just
about
your one guy that I know who you're talking about, just your one guy who's been allocated from my hero to study this topic, yeah, and paid to do it.
Where did you get
Fair
it from?
enough. That's
You're
what
the evidence.
you've got this one guy to do that, yeah, and that's fine. He can spend his time.
Although
doing
you make
that
a lot of
stuff.
claims
Yeah,
without
but-
evidence. That's the one thing I've noticed. Yeah. But like I said, speak to the person with the knowledge, my brother, yeah? Peace.